everyone, I'm Nicole Osinski, and I am joined today at GFX with Norman Barrientos. Norman, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, a pleasure. I'm really excited.
You are one of our speakers. You were a speaker yesterday, should I say.
Yes, right.
Yes, and we were so excited to have you here, and I popped in for a little bit, so I didn't get to hear the whole thing, but we talked beforehand about, building out a plan for your garage and what that looks like. And it was specifically building out a business case. So can you tell us a little bit about what that entailed and some of the things that fleets should know?
Yeah, so building out the business case is an essential step after you finish up your space needs, or we call it facility needs, of the fleet garage, is then moving it forward to administration, finance, or even elected bodies of why you need the garage. And too many times people don't understand what a fleet does, and they just think they want more bays. And why can't the crew just work with the same amount of bays, and yet we have 500 more vehicles over the last 10 years. So I struggled helping them, and I thought I could put together some methodologies for them to help put the argument forward that it's more than just more space. It's really aligning the building with their KPIs, their key performance indicators, so fleet utilization, technician utilization, asset turnovers, metrics like that they operate under every day. And so my thought and approach is to line up the KPIs with the design of the building.
Right.
And therefore, as we go forward to justify the building, we tell administration the design is an integral part of our KPIs. We're trying to hit so many maintenance hours and VEUs, and we're trying to hit asset turnover rates at this level. We're trying to keep the techs charging 70% or so. So they have these, and the building can either be a friction point or it can enhance them to achieve their goals. So that was one part. The second part of the whole business case is an economics exercise of actually putting line item costs for the old building, and most garages are over 20 years old. Probably the average one is like 40, and how it's causing friction and more expenses for them. And so the seminar went through line items and what the average optimal garage does and what the lower end one does and what that costs you. And then we go through an exercise of the new garage will minimize these costs by X amount. So, and in the end you have a dollar amount, and of course our seminar showed you save money by building the building. And they get to do their job more easily and produce more maintenance hours and keep on their PM compliance and maintain better control over their whole commissioning process and life cycle and the total cost of the ownership. So I think the seminar is really accumulation of my 30 years of working in fleet as a design professional, of helping them design a better facility and make it a top-notch facility, but also one that's appealing to get funding approved.
Right, and so a lot goes into it, and we know this isn't a small task. There are a lot of pain points, I could imagine, with that. But as far as those pain points go, what is your advice for fleets as far as the process of getting this approved, and then how do they move forward in implementing this?
Yes, they should take control of the steps and be strongly involved in the initial phase, which is the facility needs step, where you define how many bays do we need, how many parking stalls do we need, what kind of crew quarters are we going to have, are we going to have safety training, and what kind of external shops like hydraulic shops and welding or upfitting, and being involved early with your architect on that, and convincing and getting buy-in from the rest of the municipality, like, yes, this is going to be our level of service. So that's key. And then that's step one. And then the second step is developing this KPI to design case, like tie the two together.
Gotcha. Okay, so those are some good points to remember for fleets. Again, there's, as you were talking about before, there's a whole long list of things that they need to go through. So a lot to go through, but again, it's like you said, following those steps to make sure that you're hitting every single thing, getting that buy-in. So again, looking forward, as again, as fleets are planning, and as you are very well aware, you can't just go, well, we want a new fleet garage tomorrow, and then get the money and it's there.
Yeah.
It's years and years of planning
Yes.
and looking forward to what they're going to do. So, from what you've seen and your time working with fleets, what do you say are some of the biggest mistakes fleets have made, and what should fleets do to avoid those mistakes?
Yeah. Well, one is to define the number of annual maintenance hours you need now to produce, and then what you are going to need 5-10 years out. And a lot of communities, especially like in California or in Arizona, they're growing so fast. So you just can't design for today, and you really need to be thoughtful about how many annual maintenance hours you're going to throughput on these repair bays. And it can't be just, well, we have 10 bays, so we'll take 15. We'll just take that amount. You just can't. We'll just take 50% more. You can't do it that way, because then it'll get shot down eventually. Administration. You have to have metrics, capacity numbers associated with these bays, and then thus, let's say you're a 30,000 annual maintenance organization, and administration wants to cut out 2 bays. Well, now we're at 28,000 hours. That's what you've done now. You just cut this down. So you want to stand your ground, and you want to have administration, because they're more metric, accounting oriented. Like, yeah, okay, we get that. That's the consequence of that. So I'd say do a very thorough industry-based, metric-based facility needs, and then lay out your business case.
Gotcha. Okay. So final question for you, and this is from what you've seen again working with fleets. Are there any trends that you've seen as far as when fleets are building out this facility that are happening? Maybe even some new things that are happening. I'd love to know just what's going on as far as that looks like.
Yeah. Well, one, we're definitely advocating air-conditioned garages now. Button it up and keep those overhead doors shut, so we can keep a lot of the environment and unwanted people coming through. So that definitely is one. 2, security and line of sight is very important. A lot of shops are kind of built over time, and there's a lot of hidden dark corners, and they're unsafe. You really need to have lines of sight. And unfortunately, in this day and age of public facilities, you get intrusive attacks or unruly customers coming to your facilities. So the security is key in that. Definitely the trucks are bigger, more complicated. The vac trucks are very large vehicles. Aerials are large vehicles. Even EMS trucks are very complicated pieces of equipment. There's a lot of technology on board. And then, so designing for the more complicated vehicles, and then of course EV vehicles, the safety standards for those thermal runaway events there's a lot of building design issues you got to do to advocate for that.
Okay, so a few different things, a few different trends to be aware of. So anything else that we can leave our viewers, with as far as advice, anything that you've been hearing, because you're the expert. We want to see, what your final thought would be for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I am an architect, but I've been working in public infrastructure all my career, and in fleet and garages for the last 30 years primarily too. Think of it this way: your garage is the biggest tool in the tool crib, and it's a tool you've been using for the last 20, 30 years, and you never got a chance to spec it or bid it out and choose what you want. You just had to work with that tool. Yet it is a very costly tool. It's dragging your performance. It takes money to maintain and repair it. So really carefully think about that tool in your whole performance. Fleet managers are very much trying to improve. And so part of that whole improvement process is the new garage.
Right.
Or a very highly revamped, expanded garage.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of great takeaways. Again, thank you so much for being here. Norman has also written for us, so go check out governmentfleet.com if you want to get some more in-depth looks at what that looks like for fleets. So, Norman, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Nicole. Appreciate it.